Go ahead, judge me, but be honest first. If you married a man who stopped making you feel wanted, would you not compare him to the last man who did? I never planned to humiliate my husband. It was just a joke. And come on, everyone jokes about their exes sometimes. The night I said my ex was bigger than him in front of everyone, I thought the room would laugh and move on. He only turned his wedding ring with his thumb, like he always did when he had no comeback. By dessert, I still believed I was the one holding the power. My name is Olivia Hart. I am 32, and I write lifestyle stories for a living, so yes, I know how people sound when they are pretending not to care. If you married a man who stopped making you feel wanted, would you not compare him to the last man who did? I never planned to humiliate my husband. It was just a joke. And come on, everyone jokes about their exes sometimes. The night I said my ex was bigger than him in front of everyone, I thought the room would laugh and move on. Nathan only turned his wedding ring with his thumb, like he always did when he had no comeback. By dessert, I still believed I was the one holding the power. Nathan was not a bad husband. That is the part people always skip because it makes the story less easy. He was steady. He remembered things. He paid attention in quiet ways that should have made me grateful. Once, in our second year together, he drove 3 hours to bring me my laptop because I had left it at home before a work deadline. He did not complain. He did not ask for praise. He walked into the office lobby with my laptop bag in one hand and my favorite iced coffee in the other. Like saving my day was just another normal task. I loved that about him then. Later, it started to feel different. Safe can become heavy when nobody says you are beautiful while carrying it. Kindness can start to feel like customer service when there is no heat behind it. Nathan knew my favorite flowers, my comfort movies, even which restaurant booths I liked. But sometimes he looked at me like a calendar reminder, not like a woman. Ethan never looked at me that way. Ethan was chaos, yes. I am not stupid. He lied. He vanished. He made me feel like I had to earn every hour of attention. But when he wanted me, I knew it. The room knew it. My skin knew it. Nathan wanted me like a responsible man wants a clean kitchen. That was where the comparisons started. Small ones. At first, they were only in my head. When Nathan brought home grocery store roses, I thought Ethan would have chosen the dark red ones from the florist downtown. When Nathan booked a quiet dinner for our anniversary, I thought Ethan would have picked a place with music, lights, something alive in the air. When Nathan kissed my forehead before work, I thought Ethan would have pulled me back by the waist. I did not say all that. Not at first. The first time I said Ethan's name out loud in that way, we were at a wine bar after work. Nathan had picked it because he said I liked calm places after long editing days. It had yellow lights, small tables, and music so soft it felt afraid of itself. I looked around and laughed. Nathan asked what was funny. I told him Ethan would have picked a livelier place. Nothing serious. Just a comment. Just a little air in a room that needed some. Nathan looked down at the menu. His thumb moved to his wedding ring and turned it once. I knew that move. He did it when he felt insecure. When he wanted to react but did not have the words. It almost made me feel bad but not enough to take it back. Be honest. If one sentence can ruin a man's confidence, was the confidence ever real? He asked when Ethan became part of every small conversation. Soft voice. Careful face. Same Nathan. I told him Ethan was not part of anything unless Nathan made him part of it. I told him comparison only hurt when someone already knew he was losing. He closed the menu after that. The silence sat between us with the little candle on the table. I drank my wine and waited for him to say something sharper. Something with a pulse. Something that proved there was still a man across from me and not just a good husband trying to survive dinner. He did not. He only turned his ring again. That should have ended the joke. Maybe for another wife it would have. For me, it confirmed the thing I was already afraid to name. Nathan could be hurt. He could be quiet. But he could not fight for the room. When I got home, I texted Brianna. I told her Nathan got weird because I said Ethan would have picked a better bar. She sent back a laughing voice message and said a little competition might be good for him. I replayed it twice. Come on. It was funny because it was true. That night, Nathan stood in the bathroom doorway while I took off my earrings. He asked if I missed Ethan. I told him he was being dramatic. He asked if I missed the person I was with, Ethan. That question was better. Too good, almost. So I brushed it away. I told him I missed being surprised. He nodded once. His hand went to his ring again, but this time he stopped before touching it. Then he went to bed without another word. I watched him leave and felt that old restless ache in my chest. Not guilt, restlessness. Because I had married the safe man, the kind man, the man who stayed. But sometimes the man who stays starts acting like staying is enough. And if Nathan wanted me to stop comparing him to Ethan, he needed to give me something stronger to compare. After that night at the wine bar, Ethan became easier to say. Not every day, not every hour. I was not obsessed with him, no matter what Nathan later tried to make it sound like. But once a comparison leaves your mouth and the room does not punish you for it, it gets easier to use again. Be honest, marriage has habits. Some people leave socks on the floor. Some people go silent during hard talks. I compared. It was just a joke. At least that was how it started. Nathan made dinner one Friday and overcooked the chicken. I said Ethan had always known how to keep meat from turning into leather. Nathan looked at the plate for a second, then gave a small laugh that did not reach his face. He turned his wedding ring with his thumb. I saw it and took another bite. The next week, Nathan tried to surprise me with concert tickets. They were for a band I liked 3 years earlier. I told him it was sweet, but Ethan would have checked what I listened to now. Nathan asked if I could accept one gift without inviting Ethan into it. I told him he was being dramatic. Come on. If a man cannot survive a little comparison, how is he supposed to survive marriage? The brunch was where it became funny to other people. Brianna and Claire met me at a bright little cafe with tiny tables and white plates that made every meal look more expensive than it was. Nathan had tried to fix our loose cabinet handle that morning before I left. He spent 20 minutes with a screwdriver, sighed twice, and still made the drawer stick. So I told the story. Brianna leaned forward before I even finished. She liked when I was sharp. She said Nathan had the energy of a man who would read the instructions and still build the shelf backwards. Claire laughed a second late, but she laughed. That was enough. I told them Ethan would have fixed it in 5 minutes and made it look attractive while doing it. Brianna nearly spilled her mimosa. Claire covered her mouth like she wanted to pretend she was nicer than she was. I said Nathan was sweet, but sweet did not tighten a screw. It was just a joke. Brianna said maybe Nathan needed a little competition. I said competition only worked if the other man knew he was in the race. That made Brianna laugh again, and I felt that warm little lift I always got when a room followed me. Claire asked if Nathan knew how often I brought Ethan up. I told her not often. Then I corrected myself and said not seriously. There was a difference. When I got home, Nathan was in the kitchen. The cabinet handle was fixed. Properly fixed this time. He opened and closed it once, like he was showing me without asking me to praise him. I told him it looked fine. He asked if fine was all I had. His voice was still soft, but there was something more exact in it now. He said Brianna had posted a story from brunch, and he had heard my voice in the background. He asked if I meant it when I said Ethan was a better man. Not angry, not loud, specific. That made it more annoying. I told him I did not say better man like that. I said Ethan handled certain things better. Nathan asked what certain things meant. I told him romance, confidence, pressure, timing. Things a husband should not need explained. He turned his ring again. Then he asked me to repeat it plainly. He said he wanted to understand the standard. For a second, I thought that was progress. So I gave it to him. I told him Ethan knew how to make a woman feel chosen. Ethan did not need 3 reminders to fix something. Ethan did not walk through life like being decent was enough. Ethan had flaws, yes, but at least he had heat. Nathan stood beside the fixed cabinet, with his hand still on the handle. He asked if I loved heat more than peace. I told him peace was only beautiful when it did not feel like boredom. That landed. I could see it. His thumb pressed against the ring, then stopped. He looked down, not at me, at his own hand. For 1 second, I wanted him to fight back. I wanted him to say something that would make me shut up. I wanted him to prove I had pushed a real nerve and not just tapped another quiet wall. Instead, he said Ethan was not in our marriage unless I kept bringing him in. I laughed because it sounded rehearsed. I told him maybe Ethan needed to be there because Nathan kept leaving empty space. The kitchen went quiet after that. Even the fixed drawer looked stupid to me. Later that night, Brianna sent me a message asking if Nathan survived brunch. I told her he was wounded but functional. She sent back that a man should not marry a woman like me if he could not handle a mirror. I liked that. A mirror. That was what I told myself I was. Not a weapon. Not a cruel wife. A mirror. If Nathan hated what he saw beside Ethan's name, maybe the problem was not my joke. Maybe the problem was the reflection. Marcus's birthday dinner was the first time I said it in front of Nathan's people. Not mine. His. That mattered, though I did not admit it then. Marcus had a small backyard with string lights, a long wooden table, and a grill that smoked too much every time someone opened it. His wife had set out paper plates with gold edges like that could make potato salad look formal. Nathan stood near the grill with Marcus, sleeves rolled up, holding tongs like he had been given a sacred tool. Come on. It was a grill. Still, he looked proud of helping. That was Nathan's kind of pride. Quiet. Useful. Easy to miss unless you were looking for it. I was not looking for it. I was sitting with Brianna and Claire watching him check the flame for the 3rd time. The burgers were taking forever. Marcus had stepped away to greet someone, so Nathan was alone at the grill, moving things around with that serious face he used when something simple became a project. Brianna leaned toward me and asked if my husband was building dinner from scratch. I laughed before I could stop myself. Then I said Ethan would have had the grill fixed in 5 minutes and made it look good while doing it. The table laughed. Not everyone. Enough. Nathan heard it. I saw his shoulders pause. His hand stayed on the grill handle for 1 extra second. Then he closed the lid and turned toward us. His thumb went to his wedding ring. There it was again. That little turn. That quiet confession. I knew what it meant. He had heard me, and he had no answer. Be honest, I did not say anything terrible. I did not call him useless. I did not scream. It was just a joke about a grill. If a man could not survive that, maybe the grill was not the problem. Marcus came back and looked between us. He did not laugh. That surprised me because Marcus usually made everything lighter. He only asked Nathan if he wanted help. Nathan said he had it. Softly. Of course. Then, while wiping sauce from his hand with a napkin, he slipped his wedding ring off for 1 second. Just one. He cleaned under it, looked at it, and put it back on. I noticed. I also dismissed it. Men did little dramatic things when they wanted women to feel guilty. Nathan was not different just because he did his drama quietly. Dinner went on, but the air near him changed. Claire stopped laughing as easily. Brianna still did, which helped. I needed one person at that table to remember this was not a funeral. Later, in the car, Nathan gave me what I thought of as his sad man report. He asked if I understood that I had humiliated him in front of his closest friend. I told him he was making a birthday dinner into a courtroom. He said he was not talking about the grill. He was talking about the pattern. That word annoyed me. Pattern. Men loved that word when they wanted one small thing to sound like a whole case. He said Ethan had become my answer to everything. If he cooked, Ethan cooked better. If he planned, Ethan planned better. If he stayed quiet, Ethan had more fire. Nathan asked if I wanted a husband or a man to lose against a ghost. For a second, I looked at the dark windshield and did not answer, because the word ghost sat strangely in the car. Ethan was not there. He had not been there for years. Still, I could make Nathan react with his name faster than with my own hurt. Maybe that meant something. Maybe I had kept Ethan close because being left by him still felt like a question I could not answer. Then Nathan turned into our street too slowly, and the thought closed. No, that was not it. Nathan wanted to make my standards sound like damage because he could not reach them. I told him he was trying to turn confidence into cruelty because it was easier than becoming the kind of man I did not have to compare. He did not answer right away. He only turned his ring again, thumb moving over the same place until I wanted to grab his hand and make him stop. At home, Brianna texted that Marcus had looked intense after my grill joke. I told her Marcus was protective and Nathan was sensitive. She sent one laughing emoji. Only one. I stared at it longer than I should have, then put the phone down. If people were going to get strange over a harmless joke, that was their problem. The next time I decided I would not soften the point. If Nathan wanted to act wounded by comparisons, I would give him one clear enough to understand. After Marcus's birthday, Nathan changed the way he moved through the house. Not loudly. That would have been easier to fight. He just became careful. He put his phone face down more often. He answered with fewer words. He stopped laughing from the other room when I played videos on my laptop. At night, he stayed on his side of the bed, like there was a rule written down somewhere. Of course, when I asked what was wrong, he said he was tired. That was Nathan's favorite hiding place. Tired. I told Brianna he was acting wounded because of the grill joke. She took longer to answer than usual, then said Marcus had probably gotten in his head. That made sense. Marcus had always been calm, but calm men loved acting wise when someone else's marriage gave them a stage. A few days later, Nathan's sister Sophie came over for coffee. Sophie had never liked me much. She smiled politely, brought little bakery cookies, and watched everything like she was gathering evidence for a family meeting I had not agreed to attend. Nathan was fixing the porch light when she arrived. It had been flickering for 2 weeks. He had a screwdriver in his hand and that serious face again, the one that made every small task look like surgery. I said he was in one of his Ethan moods. Come on. It was a tiny joke. Sophie did not smile. She asked why I said that name like a weapon. I laughed because that was dramatic even for her. I told her Ethan was not a weapon. He was a reference point. People used examples all the time. Sophie looked toward the porch where Nathan had stopped moving. He heard. Of course he heard. Nathan came inside later with dust on his sleeve and said nothing until Sophie left. Then he stood by the kitchen counter and asked if anything private between us was still private. I told him he was turning jokes into crimes again. He said I had promised him once that his insecurities would be safe with me. He said he believed me. He said now he never knew which part of him would become my next punchline. That was the closest he had come to sounding broken. For 1 second, I almost softened. Almost. Then I remembered every quiet night where I had dressed up and he only said I looked nice. Every dinner where he checked the bill before touching my hand. Every morning where he kissed my forehead like I was a child he was sending to school. Be honest, a woman can only feel invisible for so long before she starts looking for a mirror somewhere else. So I changed tactics. I lowered my voice. I told him I was not trying to hurt him. I said I wanted him to build confidence. I said if Ethan's name bothered him that much, maybe it was showing him where he needed to grow. He looked at me for a long time. Then his thumb went to his wedding ring. Turn, stop, turn. He asked if I understood that confidence built on humiliation was not confidence at all. I told him that sounded like something Marcus would say. His eyes moved to his phone on the counter. The screen lit up with Marcus's name. Nathan turned it face down before I could read the message. I noticed. I dismissed it. Marcus was probably feeding his victim act, giving him sad little phrases to bring home and place between us like furniture. I told Nathan his friend needed to stay out of our marriage. He said Ethan should have stayed out first. That line irritated me because it was almost good. I did not tell him that. Instead, I told him if he hated being compared so much, he could stop giving me reasons. He asked if I wanted him to become Ethan. I told him I wanted him to become someone I did not have to explain desire to. He went quiet. But this time his silence did not feel empty. It felt closed. I texted Brianna that night and said Sophie had accused me of using Ethan as a weapon. Brianna read it. No reply for 8 minutes. Then she sent that maybe I should give the Ethan jokes a rest. I stared at the message. Then I laughed. It was just a joke when everyone was laughing. Now that Nathan had made his sad face public, people wanted to act moral. Fine. If they wanted a real reason to be uncomfortable, I could give them one. Nathan had spent weeks making me look like the cruel wife for wanting more than soft hands and quiet chores. So I decided the next dinner would be at our house, our table, our friends. One good night, one clear joke, and Nathan would finally understand that if he did not want to be compared to Ethan, he needed to stop losing. I planned the dinner for Saturday. Not because I wanted a fight, not because I wanted to hurt Nathan. I wanted one normal night where people remembered how to laugh without acting like every joke needed a warning label. Be honest, that was all. I sent the invite to Brianna, Claire, Marcus, Sophie, and 2 other friends who usually kept the table easy. I picked a roast because Nathan liked making a big deal about carving it properly. I bought wine, candles, and the little cloth napkins he said were too formal for our house. If Nathan wanted everyone to think I was cruel, I would give him a room where I looked warm, funny, and completely in control. Brianna asked what kind of night I was planning. I told her a normal one, unless Nathan decided to turn breathing into a wound. Then I sent her the joke I had been shaping in my head. Not the full version. Just enough. I said maybe I would finally say Ethan was bigger than Nathan in every way that mattered. Brianna read it. 1 minute, 2, 5. Then she replied that maybe I should not. That was all. Maybe don't. I stared at those 2 words until the screen dimmed. Of course Brianna would get nervous now. People loved sharp women until the sharpness pointed at someone with sad eyes. I put my phone down and went to the kitchen. Nathan was standing by the counter, checking the guest list on the notepad I had left out. His wedding ring caught the light when he moved his hand. He turned it once with his thumb before he looked at me. He asked if I really wanted all those people there. Calm voice. No accusation. Almost gentle. I told him yes. He asked if we could have a quiet weekend instead. Just us. No table, no performance, no Ethan. That last part made me laugh. Come on. He made it sound like Ethan was walking in with a bottle of wine. I told Nathan hiding from people would not fix his insecurity. He said he was not hiding. He was asking me not to turn our marriage into entertainment again. Again. That word had weight in his mouth like he had been saving it. I told him I would not shrink my personality to protect his ego. He asked if my personality needed his humiliation to feel large. That was almost good too. Nathan had been getting better at lines, which would have been attractive if he had learned it sooner. I told him the problem was not my jokes. The problem was that he stopped making me feel wanted and expected being nice to be enough. I said he fixed things, paid bills, remembered details, and then acted like desire was optional. I told him I became loud because he made marriage feel like a quiet room with locked windows. He did not deny it. That mattered. His face changed, not much, but enough. He looked down at his ring and turned it again. For once, he knew I was right. Then he said wanting me badly and being willing to be mocked were not the same thing. He said he had loved me in the way he knew how, but he would not keep sitting at tables where I measured him against a man who had already left me. I told him Ethan left because he was selfish. Nathan stayed because he was safe. Neither one made him better. That ended it. He nodded once and said he understood. I heard surrender. I really did. The day of the dinner I dressed carefully. Not too much, just enough. Dark dress, gold earrings, the perfume Nathan once said made him forget what he was saying. He noticed. He said I looked beautiful while setting the silver serving knife beside the roast. The compliment came too late to count. Guests arrived in waves. Brianna hugged me, but her arms were stiff. Claire brought dessert and avoided my eyes for a second too long. Marcus shook Nathan's hand and stayed near him after that. Sophie looked around my dining room like she was checking exits. Fine. Let them all be tense. I poured wine until the room loosened. I told stories from work. I made Claire laugh first, then one of the others. Even Brianna smiled after her second glass. The house felt like mine again. Nathan sat at the end of the table, quiet, polite, useful. His thumb rested on his wedding ring. I watched it and felt that familiar thrill. He was nervous. Good. After dinner, someone mentioned old relationships. Not me. Someone else. The room gave me the opening, and I knew exactly what to do with it. I leaned back in my chair, glass in hand, and smiled at my husband. It was just a joke. And this time, I wanted everyone to hear it. The opening was perfect. Someone asked about old relationships, and the table loosened the way tables do after wine. Brianna looked at me once, quick and nervous. Claire reached for her glass. Marcus sat back in his chair. Sophie watched Nathan. Nathan only turned his wedding ring with his thumb. That tiny move again. I smiled because I thought I knew what it meant. He was nervous. So I leaned back and told the room that Ethan had been bigger than Nathan in the one place that mattered most. The table broke in a strange way. One person laughed too fast. Someone else made a small sound and stopped. Brianna looked down. Claire set her glass on the table without drinking. The refrigerator hummed behind me, loud in the silence. Nathan did not look down. He looked at me. Then he smiled. Not wide, not angry. Just enough to make the room stop waiting for him to disappear. His thumb turned the wedding ring one last time, then he slid it off and placed it beside his plate. The sound was small. It cut through everything. He said maybe Ethan was bigger. Then he said he was the one who had the balls to divorce me in front of everyone. My hand stayed around my wine glass. I did not lift it. I did not set it down. I just kept holding it while the silver serving knife near the roast reflected the candles in thin lines. Nathan kept his voice calm. He said I had spent years inviting Ethan to every table we shared. The wine bar where I said Ethan would have picked better, the brunch where I called Ethan a better man, Marcus's backyard where I said Ethan would have fixed the grill faster, Sophie's visit where I made his name sound like a weapon. That morning when he asked for one quiet weekend and I chose a room full of people instead. No one interrupted him. Not Brianna. Not Claire. Not even me. He said Ethan may have been better in all the ways I like to list, but even Ethan had known when to leave someone who made every man beside her smaller just to feel tall. I tried to laugh then. It did not land. I said it was just a joke. Come on. Everyone knew it was a joke. I looked at Brianna first because Brianna always knew how to save a room. She did not look back fast enough. Marcus spoke instead. He said jokes were supposed to stop when someone kept asking. Simple. Quiet. Unfair. Because it sounded too true. Nathan looked at the ring on the table. He said he was done being measured against a man who had already left me. He said I could keep Ethan as the memory, the excuse, and the ghost at every dinner, but I would not keep him as the husband sitting beside it. Sophie stood first, not to comfort me. She went to Nathan. That was when the room moved without me. Brianna picked up her purse and said nothing. Claire looked at the floor. Marcus put one hand on Nathan's shoulder. The dinner I had planned to make him look small had turned into a room where nobody was laughing with me anymore. Later that night, I texted Ethan and said Nathan had humiliated me because of him. Ethan replied that I should not drag him into my marriage, and then he stopped answering. Nathan filed the divorce petition the next morning. I slept in the guest room for 6 nights before moving to Brianna's couch. Our shared bills were separated before the week ended. Claire stopped inviting me to dinners, Marcus stayed with Nathan, and Sophie blocked my number. Ethan never answered the second text. I tried writing about cruel male ego for work, then deleted the draft after reading my own lines twice. I still want to say Nathan was too sensitive. I still want to say Ethan's name should not have had that much power. But be honest, I did not use Ethan as a memory. I used him as a ruler, and then acted surprised when my husband refused to stand under it. His wedding ring stayed on the dining table until morning, leaving a small circle in the spilled wine. I joked that my ex was bigger, and my husband proved size was never the part I should have feared.